and I'm in the car. I didn't make my thumbnail hashtags or whatever. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this one, but motivation. I consider myself a motivation expert, whatever that means. Um, to start, I wanted to pose the question to everybody watching, to anyone who might hop on now, or to anyone who will hop on and see this in the replay. Is motivation a feeling? And I'm going to give you 20 to 30 seconds just to think about that. Okay, so I hope you thought about that. Is motivation a feeling? Now, let me think of some practical examples. I'm going to start with an example for me of going to work. My work life now, I graduated from college in 2010, so it's been about 13 years now. I've worked pretty consistently with the exception of a few years with, a break that I took due to mental health issues. But with the exception of that time period, I've basically worked from the time that I graduated up until now, like a 13-year span. I might have worked 10, 11 of those 13 years. Have I felt motivated to go to work? It's been a long time. It has been a long time, but I have been consistently employed for the last 8 to 9 years. Never not had some form of job. So why do I keep going if I am not motivated? The thing is, I am motivated, but not in the way that people think of motivation. Sometimes people think of motivation as you wake up in the morning and you spring out of bed. I want to do this thing and I feel excited. Motivation and excitement are not the same thing. So when it comes to those jobs that I've been going to for most of the past 13 years, what motivates me to do that in the absence of enjoyment or excitement or fulfillment? I look at my bills and I'm like, I have to pay for my car note, rent, I have to pay my credit card bills, whatever bills, my loan, student loans, whatever it happens to be. Whatever bills you have, you can plug in any bills that you have. A combination of your bills and your recreational activities. And I'm like, as much as I would love to just be like, I'm out of here, I do what I want, how am I going to pay for those bills? So my motivation is to be able to maintain my lifestyle in all aspects, whether it's where I live, whether it's being able to keep up with my car, whether it's getting the groceries that I need. In my case, I receive personal training. There's just a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have the money. So that has motivated me, not in the way that everyone else thinks of motivation, but that is my motivation. That is my motive to continue to go. Hey Mark, motivation to work equals money for essentials. Yeah, so in work, it's easy to pinpoint that, right? What if I said, I have not been motivated, or not motivated? Let me rephrase that. What if I said, I have not been excited and enthusiastic to do something? Let me rephrase that again. I can't say I have not, because there is a few things that I have been excited about. But I have not been excited or enthusiastic for most things since April 16 of this year. Most of you know already that April 16 of this year is when my dad passed, which was 4 months and 11 days ago today. And actually, the same day that he passed, I had a race scheduled on that day. The race was about, what time was it? Maybe 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. It was in New Jersey. I live in New York here, so I drove out there. It was about an hour and a half away from me. Got up really early. I was very excited and enthusiastic about doing that race. I was in really good shape at that time. And I'm like, let's go out there and do this race and get this personal record. So I drove out there, I did the race, I beat my last time by a significant amount of time. I was really happy. And then I was coming home. I was on my way home, and I was planning to actually get home and then take a shower, head back out, and go see my dad in the nursing home. But before that ended up happening, I got the call, he passed away this and this time. And that was devastating for me because it was such a epic high and low. And all of a sudden, that race that I just did so well in did not matter to me anymore. It was out of my mind. I wasn't even thinking about it anymore because I said to myself, if I had not gone to do that race, I would have been there in that nursing home prior to his passing. I would have been able to see him. And that really hurt. And it took a long time I'm not fully over that. It's still pretty new. But I'm better, much better now than I was then. But my point of giving you guys this whole story about that is to say that for a very long time, now I started to question my purpose. Why am I here? What is the point of me doing this? What's next? If I take this step or if I do this thing, what's the next thing after that? And once I started questioning the purpose, it brought me into this rut. Let me see. I used to be motivated and excited to go to work. My dad passed and I too lost motivation. I used to love my job. Oh, I see. Sorry to hear that. So I started questioning my purpose. And now it still makes me think of those questions, but this is what I want to say. In that same span of time that I'm telling you all that I have not felt enthusiastic or excited to do most things, I've been doing a lot of things that people are congratulating me for. I'll give you some examples. If y'all haven't followed my other page, I created another YouTube page called Mindful Reality, but the T is spelled T-E-A, Reality. I started that page I think in February, but I started really working on that page about 2 months ago, and I had a goal to get that page monetized. I've been grinding at that page. I've been working hard at that page. I have been putting out 2-3 live videos a day. I got the page monetized in about 6 weeks. Motivation. Some days I have felt, kind of enthusiastic, maybe depending on what's going on in the Big Brother house, because that's what I'm covering over there mainly. But when I decided to create the page, and not create the page, but when I decided to really put in the work for the page, I had to map out the why before I could commit, because I debated. I said, right now, I don't feel motivated to do anything. So I can't even commit to doing this until I find the motivation. Now, tying it back into work, my motivation for going to work is simple. Just like MC said here, money for essentials. I need the money for the essentials, so I have to go to work. There's no other way around that. I don't have to have this YouTube page, and I don't have to have that other YouTube page. Those are not things that I have to have. So they're not as easy to find a source of motivation. So I had to think about that. And I said, my motivation, which is just the motive behind what makes you do one thing or another. My motivation is financial freedom, the ability to create my own schedule, the goal of being able to wake up every day and say, I love what I'm doing, instead of I'm just doing what I have to do to pay the bills. And lastly, my dad's legacy, because he was trying to do things like what I'm doing now. Not necessarily exactly like this, but everything that I just said before that. He was trying to do it in different ways. Networking, network marketing, sales. Like, there was just different things that he was trying to do for him to have financial freedom and the ability to live the life that he wants, travel more, create his own schedule, and all of that. And I remember he was telling me in his last couple of years, he wanted us to start a business together, but at that point in time, his dementia and his Alzheimer's, that just was not going to happen. I would kind of humor him a little bit, but that was just not going to happen at that point in time. But the point is, I remember him seeing my YouTube page, and he loved my YouTube page, and he was telling me that all the things that I do with my life, the music you guys see me do, whether it's playing my ukulele or playing my saxophone, the public speaking, all the things that I do outside of my 9-to-5 life. He said, you need to work on those things and figure out a way to create the life that you want. So when I sat down and made that choice to make that other page and sit down and grind at it, it was a commitment. And that's what I wanted to say about motivation. Motivation is creating a plan, mapping it out. What is it going to look like? What is it going to take? And committing. Usually when you are starting something, you don't feel the enthusiasm like that. And even if you do, it's early enthusiasm. You know how it goes. When you're like, hey, I want to create this, or I want to start doing this different thing with my life, or I want to start this new hobby, or I want to lose this amount of weight, or I want to start my own business, or whatever it is that you're saying is that you want to do that you're not doing now. It's cool and it's fun when you're going out and you're buying the gym clothes and you're buying the weights, the home equipment, or you're like, I want to go buy a whiteboard to write down all of my plans. I still have a whiteboard in my room that I have not even written on one time. And I bought it January. I think I got a gift card for Walmart at Christmas time, and I used it. That was one of the things I used it on, to get this big whiteboard that I was sure I was going to map everything out on. You get your notebooks, your pens and pencils, you get whatever it is. You're just starting something out, and you're excited about the potential of what you're going to get out of it at the end. But then as soon as you get into that process, if you don't have a strong why, you're going to take 5 steps out of that 10,000 steps staircase and look up and say, this is daunting. You know, I'm closer to where I started than where I want to be at the end. So it's not that big of a deal to just hop off the steps. Even if you've gone up 100 steps, you're still like, I'm closer to the bottom than to the top. So I can just walk back down and walk on out of here. But why did you get on the staircase in the first place? This is the motivation formula. And I have something that I need to finish called the motivation workbook. I set it down. I actually, now that I'm saying this on this camera, I need to pick it back up and finish it. The motivation is your reason why you're doing it. Your motivation is your motive. It's not an action. It's not a feeling. Your motivation is your motive behind what you're doing, and then your commitment to the process of getting it done. I'll say that again. That's my own personal definition that I just came up with on the spot. Your motivation is your motive behind doing something, and then your commitment to get it done. And to use my favorite example, the motivation to lose weight or the motivation to get fit. I won't even say lose weight anymore, because being your best self and being in your best shape is not losing weight for everyone. So right now, I gained about maybe 8-9 pounds in the last 5 months while grieving and going through depression, even though I'm still going to the gym. So I remember when I first got the news about my dad, I physically felt ill. I felt physically ill, not just mentally. I felt physically ill, to the point where I would wake up in the morning and I had to drag myself out of bed. I'm sitting there thinking about how heavy my limbs feel and how I just want to stay in this bed and not move. But the thing is, I got a 3-day bereavement period at work. 3 days. What can be accomplished in 3 days? I don't know. Who thought that policy was acceptable to make in workplaces? I don't know, but that's what we had. And I was even told in a nice way by a manager, I'm sorry for your loss, but this is the amount of days that you get in the policy, so you got to get it together to figure it out. It wasn't said just like that, but pretty much that's what it meant. I know that you might need more than 3 days, but we only give you 3 days. So either you figure out a way to get it together or you don't come back. And honestly, the don't come back part of it was in strong consideration. I never told anybody that, but that's how I felt. I'm like, you know what? This not coming back option doesn't seem too bad. But then those looming bills, you know, the letters in the mail and the reminders in my email, I'm like, well, not coming back does not really work unless I want to just lose everything that I've worked for and have to face being unemployed again, which hasn't happened in a number of years, knock on wood. So I came back. That was my motivation for coming back. When it came to gaining the 10 pounds, the reason why I gained those pounds is because even though I was going to the gym still and I was doing my personal training sessions still, my eating changed, my eating patterns changed. I wasn't doing anything extra. I wasn't doing my usual running. I wasn't doing my usual activity. The personal training became like a job also. The personal training became like a job. So I'm scheduled to have my training on this day, this time, and this time. So when those days and times come, I'm going to show up and do what I have to do. But outside of that, I'm doing nothing. So it's amazing I only gained that much. It should have been more. It could have been more, but I had a commitment. So going back to the fitness part, there are many days, not just at that time period, but there are many days when I get up and I know that it's one of my training days. Reef can be one dangerous animal or more like a nasty parasite. Yes, it can. Like today is a training day. I'm getting off here in the next, at most, 20 to 30 minutes because I have to head to the gym. I woke up this morning and just knew that I don't want to be in the gym. I just felt it in my bones. Like, I don't feel like exercising today. It's not the worst day I've ever had, but it's a low motivation day for me. But the thing with that is the formula still applies. Before I committed to this personal training schedule, I had to sit down and think, why do I want personal training? Well, the personal training is because I've always been somebody who loves fitness. I love sports, I love athletics, and I love being active. Somewhere along the way, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, my metabolism slowed way down and I started to just gain weight really easily. I got up to as much as 240 pounds. I'm 187 pounds right now. I got up to as much as 240. 187 feels like too much, but I was almost 240. And in my family, there's a history of strokes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And I've seen the devastating effects of family members being in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, losing control of half of their body or losing control of their whole body, being bedridden, dying. So my motivation behind getting the personal training was not just the look, but to stay as active and healthy as I can and to keep my quality of life as good as it can be for as long as it can be. So our bodies have a use it or lose it policy. That's what I like to say. Use it or lose it. So whatever abilities that you have, they can lessen if you do not train and strengthen those things. So my motivation for constantly being in the gym and constantly doing my exercise is not the feeling that I have when I wake up in the morning. If I depended on the feeling that I have when I wake up in the morning and that determined what I do for the day, oh my goodness, you would never see me out of that bed. And let me tell you something. I'm diagnosed with something called agoraphobia. So I'm not just talking figuratively. That was not just a metaphor for me. I spent almost 1 year laying in my own bed. The only time I left the bed was to use the bathroom and maybe occasionally to eat a little bit of something, but for the most part, I spent almost 1 year in my own room because of this disorder. Which people who know me now would think that's amazing because you don't stay in your house for anything now. I'm always outside even if it's not doing something with a group, or even if it's not something that you're seeing, or even if it's not an event, I'm just getting in my car and going somewhere. I'm in the park, or I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to the mall, whatever it is, just to find an outdoor, like an outside of house activity to do, because it's kind of therapeutic for me to be outside. But I was diagnosed with agoraphobia. And the beginning of my agoraphobia, I wasn't in the house every single day. But it was like, unless I had something to do specific, I would be inside the house. So at first it was like, I spend a day or two in the house all day, and then I'm out 5 days. And then I succumb to that, and then I'm out 4 days and I'm in 3. And then all of a sudden I'm in 4 days and I'm out 3 days, and I'm in 5 days. And next thing you know, I am literally laying in my bed morning till night, all day, all night, for almost a year. I lost a year of my life, really. I hardly remember that year. It's kind of scary. But my decision to stay in that bed, even though it's more complicated than that when you add in the psychological component, but a basic breakdown is that my decision to stay in that bed was because of a choice that I made, that I was not going to get out of that bed until I felt better. Which is an oxymoron, right? Because I was never going to feel better sitting in that bed. I was never going to feel better sitting in that bed. I was never going to wake up and be like, I'm all good now, and spring out of the bed and feel better. To get out of that bed required me to decide that I hate this feeling that I have of being in this room and seeing these 4 walls all the time so much that I'm willing to face uncomfortable feelings and difficulty to get myself out. And that's literally how you break yourself out of agoraphobia, which could be a whole other topic for another time, and should be, because a lot of people have it, and it's an extremely debilitating and devastating illness, which I have obviously found my way out of for the most part. But I was like, I hate being in this bed so much. I hate seeing these 4 walls so much. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get myself out of this rut. So because of that decision, it's like, I'm going to go to therapy, and then I'm going to commit to doing what the therapist is recommending for me to do. And that was hard, because a lot of those things that I was doing to get myself out again were very, very hard. But every time I wanted to stop, I said, why did I start? I started because this feeling of sitting in my bed all day is so terrible that I'm willing to do any terrible step along the way that gets me to this end goal of getting back to being who I know myself to be. If your commitment is going to the gym, you're not going to wake up every day, spring out of your bed and be like, I want to run, or I want to lift these weights, or I want to do whatever it is, sit-ups, push-ups, crunches, pull-ups, whatever exercise that you're doing. You're not going to feel every day like, this is so exciting, despite what they make you think on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you have. Oh, I eat weights for breakfast. It's not like that. It's not like that. Even those people that really have the obsession to do that, they wake up some days and they're like, why am I doing this? I'm sore. I'm tired. I feel like just skipping a day. You know, that happens. But they have to have a strong why to sustain them over time. My why for fitness, in addition to what I told you guys about my family background and history, I know what weight and what size I feel most comfortable at in general. And I know what it's like for me to be 240 pounds. And because I want to live optimally and feel good, even on the days when I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm already thinking about that workout that I'm not going to like, I made my commitment to do the workout because of what I want to get out of it. My purpose. My purpose is my motivation. My purpose behind doing it is my motivation, and my commitment keeps me doing it. It's not a feeling. Now, when you see me on race day, there's many days that I do these races and I wake up in the morning and I say, oh man, this is not my day. Why couldn't this race have been tomorrow? Why couldn't this have been next week? I had a hard day at work that stressed me out. Or I got sick this week and I'm getting over sickness. This is just not the day that I expected it to be. So I wake up, I start getting myself together, driving to the course, and then I get to the course and I say, I don't feel great today, but I'm going to do my best. And if I can do well on my worst day, imagine how I can do on my best day. So I finish. The smile that you see on my face at the end of every race is authentic, but it's always for different reasons. Sometimes it's I show up, I feel great, and I'm like, I just know I'm going to get some record time. And then I go out there and do what I was supposed to do. Other days, drag myself out of bed in the mornings. I couldn't feel any worse. And I say, wow, I actually made it through. Some days I get a personal record. Some days I'm happy just to cross the finish line. It's just like that. Life is not consistent enough. If there's one thing we can depend on in life, it's inconsistency and change. Everything in life is variable, including life. I feel that way about almost every plan I make, even grocery shopping. Yeah, I mean, you can sit down and say, man, you open the fridge and you're like, man, all my stock is empty in the fridge. It's not that you love going out and doing the grocery shopping all the time. It's that you love having your fridge and your house and your pantry stocked, right? So you made that commitment ahead of time. This is my designated task that I'm going to do. So even if I wake up and it's whatever day you do your shopping, let's say you do your shopping on Sunday, you could wake up on your Sunday and say, oh man, you wake up and you're like, oh man, I don't really want to do the grocery shopping, so I'm going to do it tomorrow. But today was supposed to be your day. You leave it for the next day, you have a little bit less stuff, and Sunday might have been your designated day that you have the most time to do it. So Monday, you might be trying to squeeze it in. Maybe you get into the store, but you're on more of a time constraint because you're coming off of work. So you're like, I only have an hour to do this instead of 2. And then you forget things from your list because you're trying to rush, get to the counter on time. You see my point. I can apply it to anything. I default back to the gym always because obviously that's the thing that I do the most out of anything, aside from my 9 to 5, which one day we're going to talk all about this 9 to 5 stuff. Y'all know exactly how I feel about 9 to 5 jobs. Despite the fact that I've had one for several years, y'all know how I feel about that, but that's a different topic for a different time. I can apply this to anything. But I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. I hope that I'm going to say it the same way I said it the first 2 times. Motivation equals, I'm going to forget it. So I'm just going to say it the way that I think of it right now. It's going to mean the same. Motivation is your commitment. It's your decision of something that you want to do, your motivation, your reason why you're doing it. So your purpose, right? You have a purpose. Your purpose needs to be tied to a vision. And then after you have your purpose, your vision, and then you map it out, you commit. It's going to take this to get to this goal. And sometimes it's going to require you to recommit, which is the stage that I'm in now. I'm not quite there yet. I'm getting there. The recommitment part, when it's talking to me, when I'm talking to myself, I have to recommit to what I'm doing with my fitness goals soon. But holiday. Oh, you lost connection? Yeah, so yeah. You think about your reason why you want to do it. You have your reason why. You make your plan. You make your commitment. You recommit if necessary. Your purpose, your vision, and your commitment are your motivation formula. Nothing more, nothing less. The action that you take is just the process. And how you feel while you're doing it is not to be confused with motivation. Excitement, enthusiasm, all of that, those are just feelings. And if you are basing your whole schedule of what you're trying to do for yourself around your feelings, more often than not, you're not going to do the thing that you want to do, because 80% of our subconscious thoughts are negative. So get out there. Don't expect motivation to be something that finds you. Create it. And that's how I'm ending this. Thanks so much for listening. Music and Mental Health signing out.